Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. I am taping this on Tuesday, and of course, it'll be broadcast on Wednesday. And Wednesday is the feast day of a great American saint, Catherine Drexel. Actually, the first American-born saint. Although there was other American saints, they weren't born here. She was the first American-born saint, active in the 19th century and well into the 20th century. And this reflection, though, is guided by the reading from today when I'm taping it, where we hear from the prophet Isaiah, "Make justice your aim, redress the wrong, hear the orphan's plea, defend the widow." Words I'm sure that St. Catherine Drexel heard and really took to heart. And I think that in Lent, when we're called to the traditions of our church, prayer, fasting, giving alms, we think about, well, how can we do that? And I think Catherine Drexel is such a powerful witness of someone who certainly didn't start out thinking that she was going to found over 100 missions, 50 schools for missions to the Native Americans. That was a real passion of hers that she discovered very early in life. Her family was a very wealthy family in Philadelphia. Her mother died when she was very young, and her father took care of him, and then a stepmother. But you could see clearly throughout her upbringing that the teachings of the church to care for the widow and the orphan were something the whole family took to heart. That's how she was brought up, and that's how her sisters were raised as well, so that when her father died at the end of the 19th century, they were already well on their way to being very generous to those who needed help. And yet, I think Catherine's idea was that the church would send missionaries to establish these missions, and she actually met with Pope Leo XIII, someone who is notable for all that he has done to set the church's direction in social justice teaching. Instead, Pope Leo said, why don't you go, Catherine? And so she entered the Sisters of Mercy, and then she founded her own order, the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, and started small. I think we always tend to look at saints at the end of their life and look at all the extraordinary things that they did, all the great things that they did. And of course, that's a reasonable way to look at them, but they all started someplace, and they all started in small steps, without any sort of expectation that they would create such an extraordinary legacy. So I think in this Lenten season, it's important for us to look at the small steps that we can take, the things that we might be able to do in our family, for those who may need us, for our neighbors, in our community, but to take some step and to use St. Catherine Drexel as our guide. In this time in our country, we're feeling so much tension between races still. You think about the hundreds of years that we've been dealing with this usage, and I hope we're making progress, but it still seems like there's so much more to do. So let us, you and I, both, spend some time in prayer this Lent, seek God's wisdom in how we might be better witnesses to this call that we share to care for the forgotten. God bless you all.